Welcome to the third part of Salesforce admin interview questions. Today's topic is company information, fiscal years, and holidays. So first of all, let's understand what do we mean by company information. So if you go to your Salesforce org and you open this company information with the help of setup, what you can find over here is as an interviewer or someone who is preparing for interviews, you should be aware about that the name of your organization, your primary contact, your address, when is your fiscal year starting, plus what is your default time zone, the currency you are using in, the number of API requests within the last 24 hours, streaming API requests within last 24 hours, and specially about your organization edition. If you want to check in what edition your team is working, it could be unlimited developer. And in case you raise a support case with Salesforce, then they ask you usually for the org ID. So this is something that we provide at that point of time. Also within this company information, we can notice that we can find out the number of licenses available total and the used licenses, what is their expiry criteria. We can check for user license, permission set license, feature license, and then usage based entitlements. You remember in the previous video, we have discussed about the different sets of licenses. So you can check the number of licenses available over here and with the help of company information. We can also notice, so there is one more topic which is usually about the holidays. So holidays is nothing but you set up holidays for your organization. For example, I have set up for the Labor Day, and then within the holiday there is an option to set the business hours for which this holiday will be valid. So similarly, holiday is used for the same, right? So let's move back to our discussion and check out the scenario questions for today's topic. So first scenario based question is your manager asks you to check how many user licenses are currently in use. Just now we have discussed that it is present under the setup of company locations, company information. Second scenario based question is a client wants to shift their fiscal year start from January to April. So if here you will notice the way I have shown you the holidays. Similarly, we have fiscal year where we can set up our fiscal year as standard or custom based on which then our opportunities get changed. Okay, so what we are going to use over here is that if they are using the standard fiscal year, then they need to make the start date change. If they are using the custom fiscal year, then they need to define the periods manually. Okay, then now what's the next question? You have been asked to verify which Salesforce edition the currently org is being used for. So the way just I have shown you that within the company information, you will notice that you can find out what type of edition you are using, whether it's unlimited or developer, okay, enterprise. So fourth question is support cases are escalating on holidays. So this is the scenario where you need to check that why the support cases are being escalated on holidays. So in that point of time, you need to check the business hours associated to that particular holidays so that the milestone is excluding those business hours and it is not getting escalated on holidays. Okay. The next question is the sales forecast report seems off after a fiscal year change. Okay, so first we need to check in this scenario about the fiscal year configuration that was recently updated and then check the forecast settings with the help of dashboards, and then if needed we can also move to the custom fiscal year. Next comes the question, you need to configure different business hours and holidays for US and Indian teams. So, within the company settings, we can set up multiple business hours and we can also set up the multiple holiday. So, so that whenever we are doing the entitlement processes, all are aligned to the correct business hours and the correct teams. Okay. So, this can be done with the help of company settings under the business hours and under the holiday. Scenario based question 7 is where would you find your organization instance and org ID? Just now we discussed on the very first slide that in the company information you'll find out the instance, you'll find out the org ID, the edition, everything will be present over here. Business wants a 4-4-5 week based fiscal year. So any fiscal year that you want to make a custom for yourself can be done with the help of custom fiscal year. We have two types of fiscal years. One would be standard, another would be custom. Next scenario based question is, you enabled custom fiscal year. Can you revert back to the standard? No, you cannot do the same. You are importing a new user base and need to check the available licenses. So in the previous first slide, we discussed that in the company information, we can see the number of user licenses available and being used. So these are the three questions for which you can comment in the comment section. That's it for today's video. Thank you so much.